came to France in 2002. When I was 21, I was just looking to get away from Australia and get away. Mentally wasn't very strong and very disciplined. Never coached before anyone, let alone a rugby league team, with ambitions to go to the Super League. And I think with experience, it's probably just belief in my system and what I'm doing. Participation is key, and I think it's set us up for failure more than it has for success. The first thing I try to tell them is coach the person, not the player. Find out who the person is first and then the player second. That'll take care of itself later. Is have a routine and repetition. It's like anything. If you want to play in rugby, you want to have a better pass, just repeat, pass, and pass. Like I am literally effed. Like I'm gone. What I want to do. And I was in a massive hole. There's more to life than what you're going through, do you know what I mean?
All right, everybody, welcome to Lessons from the Game podcast. And today's guest is a very, very interesting human being, a legend of the game, rugby league here in France as a player, but also as part of the staff as an S&C coach. We've got Adam in us today, and he'll be sharing some of his stories and insights with us on how athletes can become stronger, not only just physically, but also mentally. He was part of the team, if I'm not mistaken, with St. Gaudens back in the day, 2005, French champions. Yes, and also part of the staff that took the double in 2014 and eventually got promoted to the Super League in 2021. Adam, welcome, brother. Welcome to our show with my man, Ben. How are you doing?
Great, guys. I appreciate the invite.
Ben, how are you doing, brother?
Oh, I'm good, man. Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Yeah, no. Well, sometimes it's like looking in the mirror when I look at you, you know? It's just it's a bit scary. I'm like, yeah, just a few kilos difference. Yeah.
No, thanks, Adam. Thanks for taking the time for joining us. Our roads have crossed a few times back in the day in Toulouse. We have some great stories. We'll be talking about that. But yeah, just want to say thanks for joining, and really looking forward to, you sharing your insights with us. The key is that we want our audience to learn and we want to inspire them. But I'm going to get this started. If you can just tell us a bit more about who Adam is, who he's all about. You're now back in Toulouse at some time away, but back now, if you can just give us a bit of background on yourself.
Yeah, so I guess I'm a bit of a chameleon, really. I'm sort of always changing ideas and my vision and beliefs on certain things. But in a nutshell, I came to France in 2002. When I was 21, I was just looking to get away from Australia and get away. I mentally wasn't very strong and very disciplined, and I guess a lot of potential went unfulfilled. As a lot of Australian kids do, they dream of playing in the NRL, which is the premier competition rugby league in Australia, and probably wasn't around the best people to get me where I wanted to go, but I wasn't mentally strong enough to do it either. And then so decided to come to France to get away from it. Loved my time and decided that, it's now or never. I wanted to travel a bit. Of course, live my passion of rugby league, but also travel and experience different cultures in different countries. And one led to two, and then three, and then I got a chance to play for France as well. Win a couple of competitions, and then fate or good luck or whatever you want to call it, when I decided to retire, there was a change in staff at the club I was at the time, Toulouse, and they asked me to come on board. So never coached before anyone, let alone a rugby league team, with ambitions to go to the Super League. And from there, won a couple of competitions, came on board with the French national team as well. And, I've done a World Cup. And as you mentioned, we went to the English Super League in 2021. And then 2023, so last year, I just needed to get away from it. Needed a break mentally. As you guys know, being part of a staff on a high level team, it's quite demanding on the family and on the nervous system. And I felt like my family had given plenty to me over 20 years, and it was time for me to give back to them. So I decided to step away for a year and get back to the family a bit and refresh the body and the mind, and think about things and where I can improve and what I can do better. And came back this year for another crack at with the same team towards Olympic. And yeah.
Today's Lessons from the Game episode was possible thanks to the support of Harris Begley Financial Planning, headed up by former Blackheath player Matt Begley. They are the experts to speak to for tailored advice on investments, mortgages, insurance, and pensions, helping you plan for a future of financial security. So when you think money, think Harris Begley and head to www.harrisbegley.co.uk. Approver Quilter Financial Services Limited and Quilter Mortgage Planning Limited, March 2025.
So did you, Adam, originally come for, you think you'll come for a year or something to France, a year, 2 years or something, and then head back to the NRL? Was that the plan back then?
Yeah, well, to go back a couple of years prior, I'd gone down to Sydney thinking that I was probably someone that I wasn't. 18 years old, as we'd all think we know, it's all so easy. It's, nothing can go wrong, and had a couple of bad knee injuries that, set me back. And then all of a sudden you find out that there's 10,000 other kids just like yourself. So you're not sort of of use to the team anymore. And I needed to get away because I wasn't around the people I need to be around to get me where I want to go. And I just wanted to get away and just clear my mind and get away for a year. But then I thought, life's short, and this is 2002, so no social media, none of this. As always, discover everything by yourself. It really made me grow up quite quickly, and I just thought, I'm one more injury away from it all ending. So I thought it was, I'd take a chance to as I said, discover myself and discover different cultures and what life's all about. And I just love my time. And one year led to two, and then I just decided to stay.
That's awesome. Were you gonna go, G?
No, you're right. Adam, I actually remember meeting you back in there. I think it was in the CrossFit gym there in Manim. All right, I came in there. And I obviously watched how you guys train, and I was back then really impressed. The way you guys were training, you can see the guys were training, with clear intent, and you could clearly see that, you were passionate about your job. Originally, I thought you lost your voice, but I realized that's just the tone of voice when you speak. But, being a strength and conditioning coach, and you as well being injured, what would you say today is the key to athletes, whether it's rugby league players or rugby players in general? What's the key to performing consistently?
Well, number one, I think I'll try and get all the players to buy into this is have a routine and repetition. It's like anything. If you want to play in rugby, you want to have a better pass, just repeat, pass, and pass. And it's the same in anything, really. I mean, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel. I haven't invented anything, or I don't think many of us have, to be fair. We're all copying each other and just putting a little touch to it. But I guess it's finding a routine, find what works best for you and stick to it. Me as an S&C coach, it's my job to guide you of what I think's, best and what can be improved and what can be done differently. But I think, no one knows themselves better than the person themselves. So I think it's just finding what works with you, getting a routine through nutrition, through your preparation, and then control what you can. I mean, once we hit, depending on the club group, 9 o'clock or so, you're in the hands of your coaches. So that's out of your control. Then you just got to do what you're told and get on with it. But all, the 20 other hours that you have by yourself, that's up to you. So Educate yourself. That's what I'll try and say to my guys. I'm here to help you, to educate you, but you have to educate yourself. Learn, what works best for you, what doesn't. Get some consistency, and get a routine and just repeat it.
That's awesome. Adam, what do you find the hardest part of your job?
It's hard to nail down one thing. I think with experience, it's probably just belief in my system and what I'm doing. I find that, with a lot of the young coaches, there's a couple of injuries and we start to question everything and we want to try and reinvent everything and just blow the whole system up and start again, where I think once you have a system in place and if you really believe in it, just go all in.
Yeah.
You just go, live and die by the sword. We all have good and bad years. I don't think there's any coach that's had consistently like 20 excellent years. We all have ups and downs. But I think once you work out who you are as a coach, what you believe in, what your principles are, what are your non-negotiables, and you just go run with it.
And there must be so many challenges, because I asked that question because there's obviously so many challenges that, you've got a multicultural and you got a team that, have come from all over the world, and you're in a different country and they're away from home, and there's all these different performance issues. And one of the things that G and I've spoken about in the past is coaching. Now, you have to evolve, but at the same time, as you said, you've got your foundational principles and your non-negotiables. Yeah. How do you find it coaching nowadays, with social media and with all that type of stuff, and Gen Z and et cetera, et cetera? How have you found that?
It's been a massive shift probably in the last 10 years. Like as, us growing up and being players and whatnot, it was just military. Do what you're told, don't ask questions, shut up, get on with it. And now, as you said, it's very multicultural. We're in a society, where everything's rewarded no matter what you've done, if you've earned it or not. Participation is key. And I think it's set us up for failure more than it has for success. I think the best way to be successful is to fail and learn from those failures. But unfortunately, I'll say unfortunately, it's just the way it is. There's no point whining about it. As I said, we're in a society where you don't have to do much to get rewarded. So we get to 15, 16 years old, you're just turning up, you're getting a trophy just for being there. And then all of a sudden you're 18, 19, you're coming into a professional system, and all of a sudden it's only the best are rewarded. And a lot of the kids now, they have a tough time dealing with that. As you said, social media has been a big part of it as well, where the reality isn't actually a reality. What we think reality isn't the case. And there's a whole different different upbringings, whether it be different culture, different country, your different backgrounds. Growing up, a lot of money, no money, etc. So the way we speak to players these days and athletes is, I think it's completely different. I don't know if you say it in England or in the UK, but in Australia we say there's more than one way to skin a cat. So basically, there's no one way. But especially rugby now, there's for example, we have a big Polynesian influence now, and the way I speak to a Polynesian player is way different to how I speak to an Australian player, or like a European Australian or a French player. Not that I do it, but I could rip into some of the Australian guys and I'd just be like, yep, okay, no worries, and I'll just get on with it. I speak to that way to a Polynesian player and I've lost him or her, depending on who I'm playing. So I've got to go about it in a different way. The French players are the same. You can't talk down to them. You have to find that middle ground. So, it's getting to know the players, getting to know the team as well, and also what you're willing to accept or not. I think there's going to be some non-negotiables within your structure. We try and work it out with the group, so we find common ground. But there's some non-negotiables, but then there's some grey area as well. Some guys get a bit more leeway. I'm not afraid to say it, depending on what it is. We can't obviously, stuff like being late, that's unacceptable. no matter who you are. But there's different things, I think it gives some guys a bit more leeway, some guys don't. But yeah, it's just sort of, we live and learn. It's not a foolproof system, but try and get to know the player. And I sort of, when I mentor young coaches, the first thing I try to tell them is coach the person, not the player. Find out who the person is first, and then the player second. That'll take care of itself later.
Adam, you just hit on something there. There's loads of, I actually want to deep dive in a bit about the social media impact it has on, or the impact that social media has on the new generation of athletes. But I think there's something that hit me that you spoke about, the non-negotiables and stuff like players being overweight at times, and, myself being a player, there were times I was overweight, I was injured, I let go. There were times I was, in a way, I would say, a bit arrogant. I thought I just had to pitch up a training, stop minding what I was eating. But, being a coach professionally for the last 7 years, I've dealt with a lot of players that have weight issues. And I find that sometimes we don't address the deeper issue. We as coaches are telling players that's not on. It's not on being overweight. You're not respecting the team. We tend to always go that route. But in your experience, and I know each case is different, but in your mind, what is the most common reasons why a player is overweight? And I'm not just talking about the forwards, talking about the fast guys we've seen happen in the past. But is there anything that you can share with maybe for our coaches to have a better insights in terms of why are these players overweight and how can you get through to these guys?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it can be a range of issues from, poor education, number one. So if that's the case, the first thing is, as I said, we get to know the player, get to know the person before the athlete. Sorry. So once I know that person, like, what's their education like? Do they know? I mean, it's a stupid question for some, but for some guys, what is good nutrition? They have no idea. They think, just going past every day is good. We get a guy that is a bit overweight, and his idea is to restrict everything and nearly go, eat nothing. And what's happening is there's a lot of inflammation there, and the body's not stupid. The body will adapt. So it's actually having the reverse effect that I want to do. It could be something like lack of sleep. We all know that, we have all these point systems for recovery, but we do as well. But I say, like, the most points you can earn is good sleep, good nutrition. Right. So if you're not sleeping well, your hormones just all over the shop, your body's out of whack, you're going to eat shit, you're going to, you're not going to digest your food correctly, and it's just going to go haywire. You're not going to recover quickly, you're inflamed like crazy. So, it's tough to nail down one thing. But I try and get the players, like we have this, it's not a compulsory group. We have this, we call it the responsibility group, a club that I work with. And we had this year probably a dozen, about 15 guys. So a bit more than half the squad were in it. And another issue is a lot of these guys, I think we have to nail down, what are you doing here? What's your reason of being here? And there's no stupid answer, there's no right answer. But finding your why, if they know their why they're here, you normally find out the why of why it's going wrong with the weight, if the weight's the issue. So, some guys might be doing it for money because they come from they've come from a poor upbringing. So that's fine. If you're in it to make money, send some money that come to the family so family can, mum can pay the rent or whatever, that's fine, that's good. But is that why you're doing it? Like, okay, so there's your reason. It might be because that's your passion, whatever it is. But if we can hammer into that, find out who you are, why you're here, then we can go, because, we can deep dive into the person and then find out what these underlying issues are, because everyone's different. Everyone's got their different reasons, but I don't think there's one blanket reason for it. But yeah, so it's hard to nail down one thing, to be honest.
That's super interesting. Adam, I did this as well, but like you've gone from playing to coaching, and I think you're in the same environment when you did that. How was that transition for you to go from being one to the other?
Tough.
Yeah,
because firstly I played with a lot of the guys.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. I figured you must have. Instead of you, it's quite tricky, isn't it?
We did. So I've been playing with the guys the year previous. I've had no coaching experience whatsoever, like at all.
Yeah.
So, and the clubs announced that they want to go to the Super League. So they've got this plan. We want to win the French Championship the next 2 years, and we're going to England, and we're going to try and win our way up through the divisions. So now the players are gone, oh, hang on, we've got these big ambitions. Now you're going to get a guy that's never coached before. Like, how's that? You know what I mean? So, and some of the players said that to me. I'm like, what are you going to do? What do you know? You never coached before. So I just came in all guns blazing, like very different to how I am now. But I just tried to break that barrier straight away and just say, I'm not the player anymore. I'm not your mate. I'll be mates with you after a game on the weekend, but from 8 o'clock till 4 o'clock, I'm running the show. So I was a bit more, I would say military and a bit more, gung-ho with them back then, but I really felt I had to do it to sort of break that barrier and let them know who I was and what I was about. And basically, the very first day I started, I got all the leaders in, and I said, look, I know it's being said because this got back to me. That's fine. This is what I've got planned for you. I'm just asking you for 2 months. Buy into it 2 months. I'll give you everything. If it doesn't work, I'll step away. But I just need 2 months for you guys. And that's when they said, okay. And then, we're winning a few games, and I guess it worked. It's a double-edged sword, but I've always been like that where, as I said, I live and die by the sword. I've got a belief. I believe in myself. So it's not, I wouldn't say cocky or arrogant, but I just have a vision, and I believe in that vision, and I'm willing to if it costs me a job, if it costs me whatever it is, I'm willing to take that responsibility.
That's bold. Love that. Yeah. And now, have you had to change the balance a bit, or is it just changed generally because naturally you just
I'm a completely different person now.
He's much nicer. I've seen it on his social media. So much more friendlier.
I'm different, right? I've never been, because as a player, I was always one of the fitter guys in the team, and I mean the position I played had to be. I played fullback, so you have to be one of the fittest in that. But I'd always did what I was told and everything, but I was never motivated by people ripping into me. Like, it did nothing for me. And I don't feel like it gets anything. Like, I'm more for, I try and involve. I think the best teams are the ones that are sort of autonomous, and you don't have to tell them much. You get the buy-in. So if I can get them to buy in and get them to question and understand what's going on and get them autonomous, I think you're on a good path to winning. So, if I have to, I do get up guys if they really need it. Like, as I said, if those non-negotiables aren't met, but if for guys like, if we come in about this, about a guy's coming overweight or whatever, it's like, I'm not going to rip into him. I'm just going like, what's going on, mate? Like, I can't accept it.
Yeah.
But let's find a solution. I'll give you the tools. You tell me how can I help you? These are the tools. Now you've got the tools. Now there's no excuses.
Yeah.
But
Just on like in terms of empowering the players, and getting them. Do you think it would have been harder for you to have come to coach in France if you had already coached in Australia prior to that, and then had completely different expectations, ways of working with players? Like, what it would have been very different.
Yeah, there's been very few. Rugby union, I'm not too sure because I'm obviously not familiar with it, but rugby league definitely. There's very few coaches that have come from Australia and lasted long here, because Australia is just so, like, as I said, shut up and do it.
Yeah.
That's it. And there's been a few, and it just hasn't like this. There's been a couple that have had good success. Trent Robinson, who's in the Sydney Roosters now, he was one, but he's a very people-orientated coach, very culture-orientated coach, and that's why it's so much success. But I've known a lot that have come in and say, I'm going to change everything, I'm going to blow this thing up, and he's not going to cop this, and he's not going to do, and then they last one season, and then they lose the group.
Yeah. Adzia, just a question. I think what I like, you spoke, these two words that you used was vision and belief. And, I often find that the modern day athlete, and obviously we hear the stories of your LeBron James, they do what's necessary, all these guys, and we also know of the Mamba mindset, all those different things. It's unbelievable stories, but not everybody has that, that same drive. And you spoke about it coming down to your wife, for example. This weekend I was fortunate. I was in London. I spent some time with Ben there, and Ben, by the way, because of you, I picked up 3 kgs, that wrap, that 3 pints of Guinness, and I got back and I was 3 kgs overweight, and I was mad. I was fuming because I went back to my vision. All right. So I've gone all in for the next 3 months, and I had certain milestones that I had to achieve. And one part of my vision is being fit and focused, and not being fit, fat, and focused. So it's about being fit and focused. And funny thing is that this week I changed things around. So I'm a big fan of intermittent fasting, but I changed it up a bit, and I decided I wanted to make sure in that 16-hour window, I'm putting myself more under the pump. So instead of only eating at 12 in the afternoon, I have breakfast in the morning, I have my last meal at 4 in the afternoon, and then I go all the way till the next day. And I found that it was actually in the beginning tougher, but for some reason, I managed to do it consecutively for 5 days, something which I haven't done before, because I'm alone near La Rochelle. My family's in Toulouse, so I've got the Carrefour City about a minute away, which talks to me in the evenings. But because I knew exactly what I want to do and what I want to achieve, it was easy to do. And do you find that sometimes with the athletes today, some of them don't really have a clear vision? And if they don't, how can they go about it to put it into place?
Yeah, I think it comes back to what we spoke about earlier with this whole social media era. Attention spans are like goldfish now. So it's just everything's about quick now. I want to achieve it. I mean, I've got a 12-year-old son who's, as passionate about rugby league as I am. But if he can't, within, 5 minutes, nail a skill or whatever it might be that we're training with him, so this is useless. I'll do something else. They have real trouble on just, staying on track. If we go back to this group that we've got, and what we try to do is, so the start of the year we sit down and we'll set out some long-term goals. So what do these guys want to achieve long-term? Want to play for France, or want to, whatever it is, play 200 games of Super League, whatever it may be, doesn't matter. Then we backtrack from there. And when we backtrack, we sort of set back, all right, so to achieve that, what has to be done this season? So I don't know, if I want to play for France as a winger, I have to finish leading try scorer, maybe the competition, only score 30 tries, whatever it may be. And now we're going back to the week. I would say each week, what do I need to do to achieve that goal? So each training session, it might be, or if it's a hard, whatever it may be, it might be doing some passing. I'm going to do 50 passes each side and nail it. And then it might be whatever it is, and we just try and stick to that. And what we do is we try and group the guys together. So you pick a partner. Can be anyone. We try and rotate it every couple of weeks. And basically, he's responsible for you. So let's say me and you, G, we've teamed up, and I've said that to achieve, to play for France this year, I need, as a fullback, I need to set up 30 tries, whatever it is. For that, I need to nail my passing. My passing needs to be crisp. I need to do 50 passes, per session. So with Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday morning, session's finished, I'm about to walk off the field. I haven't done it. Your job is to go, "Oh, Ad's here. Where you going? We've got 50 passes, get over here." So it holds them accountable. So it's all about accountability after that. I think it's important that if you set goals, that you tell someone about it. So I've just given an example. It's a teammate, but it may be your wife, partner, another coach, another player, a friend, or whatever it is. But let them know, because what it does is you might have a check-in. We do a check-in, every week, but it may be every 2 weeks, every 2 months, every 3 months, whatever it may be. But if you take, you're intermittent fasting where you want to lose you want to lose 3 kilos. If you said, "I want to lose that 3 kilos after, 3 months," and I'm aware of it all, I'm on after a few weeks, "Gee, how you going? How's that weight going?" And then you go, "Oh shit, I've lost nothing. What's going on, man? What are we doing?" And I think it's just about that accountability. And I think goal setting is good, but I feel like if you just have it by yourself, who's to know? And it's very easy to sort of log off to what that goal is. So putting someone in the loop of what that goal is, I think is a great way of just making yourself accountable, holding yourself accountable, and then that person holds you accountable, to really achieve what you want to achieve.
That's really good. Hey, Adam, you talk about lessons from the game. Obviously, that's what this is called, and G and I often talk about stuff, and work ethic comes up often, and a lot of other things, obviously. But is there anything that you have taken from your playing career that as a lesson from that time that you take into your everyday life now?
Yeah. Firstly, careers are a lot shorter than what we think they are when we're 20. We think at 20, everything is great. We're not going to get injured. We can play till we're 36, but the reality is there's probably about 1% that get that far. I think the biggest takeaway I had was, and if I go back to my 20-year-old self, is take every session like it's my last. Get a routine, or firstly, get a routine. But take every week, or probably every session every week like it's my last, because it could be. So make the most of it, no regrets. So I try and tell a lot of young players now, you never know. For whatever reason, injury, coach doesn't like you, whatever it is, could be 100 different reasons. But careers don't last a lifetime. Make the most of it, because it's a fantastic lifestyle to live. The rugby lifestyle, and you're with your mates every day. So it's a fantastic feeling. That's probably why I feel like there's a lot of depression now. The more and more the sports become professional, the more and more hearing about depression and mental health. I think that's got a lot to do with it, because we go from being with our mates every day and having a set routine. You got to be here this time, and then all of a sudden you haven't got any more. So I think it's just getting a routine, finding what you're passionate about outside of whatever your sport is as well. That's important, having a passion outside of it. And just attacking every week like it's your last one.
Yeah,
having some fun.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, go on, G. Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, no, sorry. Adam, you touched based on routine a few times, and what I've learned from my experience as a coach, we throw a lot of times these words around, vision, goals, routine, good habits, but sometimes the players actually don't know what it means. What does it mean? But if you can maybe give an idea, for example, of a player, like what's a good routine to have. Obviously, you have your morning routine, and you just mentioned now your weekly tactics, what you need to do every week in order to achieve your goals. But can you advise players to put together a good routine? And if it is a morning routine, what would you advise them? And then also just in terms of their training routine, because players often just pitch up like week in and week out. I'm just going to give it my best this week. I'm just going to train well. No clear targets. But if you can maybe elaborate more, especially to the younger players that are coming up, what is a routine? How can they build their routine? And what should it look like, more or less?
Yeah, I think again, getting back to our social media thing, we are not to fall in the trap of because Elon Musk does this, because all this, whoever it is, Warren Buffett, they're up at 4 a.m. and doing all journaling, whatever. I mean, if you don't like journaling, don't journal. If you don't, if you're not getting up at 4 a.m, don't do it. Find something that makes you feel good, that helps you perform. I would say, firstly, is waking up consistently the same time every day. That's the first thing. Get your body into a rhythm that it's used to, so not lethargic. So a time where you have adequate sleep. So preferably, you get your 8 hours, but 6 to 8 hours at least. You want to get in. That'll be the first one, and make it consistent every day, whether it be training days, recovery days, unless there's always the, ifs and buts. For example, you're playing a game at, 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and if your morning routine, so you're up at 6, okay, well, in that case, have a sleep in, whatever, but try and be as consistent with it as you can. So, for example, I was trying to tell the guys, be 7 out of 10. So just be consistent. Don't have to be 10 out of 10, but don't be a 4 out of 10 out. Just be 7 all the time. Just be consistent. So first one I think is sleep. So get that nailed down. Next, I would say for everyone, athletes, especially hydration. So get something into something, just hydrate straight away. We try and get at least a glass of water with, some salt or electrolytes or something like that in there. I think that's probably essential for every single athlete, because we lose a lot of fluid as we sleep, whether it be winter, summer, whatever. So we'll replace that. We need that obviously to perform. And then, some athletes might practice intermittent fasting, so it wouldn't be eating, but if it's eating, just be consistent with your meals. So, if you've got a nutritionist, they'll probably take that out of your hands, but try and find out what makes you feel good to perform. So, if having no carbs makes you feel good, do it. If having carbs, do it, but try not to flip-flop, just nail it and just keep doing it every day. And then from that, some guys like meditation, some guys hate it. Yeah. So don't do it if you don't like it. I mean, I'm big on meditation and I like the journaling. So if guys like to do it, I'll try and guide them with that. But I mean, I'm not going to, if some guy's not going to, if he doesn't like it, he's not going to buy into it. It's not going to work. It's just going to, stuff around with their heads. So don't get into it. But the 3 things would be probably, sleep, food intake and nutrition. So getting a good protein source, some good fats, so your hormones are, on point. Your brain's nice and fired up. Some guys like carbs. I don't. Some athletes do, depending on what their training session is that day. Can always slip some in, but nice. Nothing sort of too processed. But yeah, that'd be a good morning routine. And as you get to your training, I mean, it depends who we're talking to. If it's professional athletes, you're training in the morning. If you're amateur, you're training in the evenings. But just get in and find something that gets you moving and makes you feel good to perform. So it might be, stretch. You might find it, or if you've got some weak points, work on. If you've got some injury tendencies, work on them. But something that's going to get you firing, because you don't want to. I mean, you don't want to spend 25 minutes warming up on the beach to get a session in. Mm-hmm. Use that time, get in there, have a chat. How's everyone going? Blah, blah, blah. And then just find something. Hey, it takes 15 minutes. We have like set routines. Say for guys got chronic injuries, I'll give them something. But I've got some of the older guys that have been around, for 15, 20 years. They tell me that works for them. What am I going to tell them? Okay. You're playing a 35 stock 40, all right, go for it. Yeah. So I sort of don't try and, unless it's for a specific reason, like a specific injury or something, I won't force stuff on them. Like, yes, if I want to do, I don't know, some Jefferson curls and the play goes, I don't like those. I prefer doing something else. We'll go do that, whatever. So get it done. So I'd say just find a little 15-minute routine that gets you firing and gets your brain firing. So you can perform on the pitch.
That's awesome. Hey, Adam, you mentioned consistency a lot there, and I think when I coach, especially with young kids nowadays, I find that they, we've talked about social media, they've seen YouTube, they've seen like amazing offloads and stuff like this, and then they sort of tend to focus on that looks, the glittery thing that's shining, that looks really like this, like this. I mean, talk to me about consistency, because you use that word a lot. What do you mean by it? Where is it important? What areas of the life? What does that look like for you? And is that something that's really key for you with athletes when you see them?
Yeah, athletes and coaches. I think consistency is key. Falling in love with. If you fall in love with the process, I think the results speak for themselves. I'm not sure if it was Roger Federer or Rafael Nadal, but one of the greats of tennis talking about their backhand and asking how it was so good. And I think it might have been Nadal. And he said it was the 10,000 shots I practiced from a kid to when I joined the Pro Tour that got me to that. So it's just working and working and working for whatever skill it is you need to improve or is key to your long-term performance, and just nailing it. And even when you've nailed it, just keep doing it. All the greats, all of them, Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods, Roger Federer, Cristiano Ronaldo, Lionel Messi, all of them always talk about being first in, last out, practicing. I mean, and it's the process. You think of for that one penalty goal that Ronaldo hits, how many times he's practiced it? It's thousands.
Yeah.
And it's so that particular skill or gestural action becomes automatic, and it's like without even thinking of it. You don't even realize. Peyton Manning, who was, I'm a massive American football fan, so Peyton Manning was one of the greatest of all time, and he I think the longest touchdown pass he threw was 74 yards, but the pass went for 60 yards on the fly. And I can't remember the exact seconds, but they timed it from the snap of the ball to when he released the ball was like 2 seconds. So in 2 seconds, he had to pick up where the defense was coming, where his receiver was, let the ball go, and that ball land on a dime in the receiver's hands. I said, how do you do that? And he said, it's just muscle memory. He goes, I don't even know. I just throw it. So his brain and his arm just knows how much power and what direction, what flight he has to put on the ball because he's practiced so many times. So you can imagine 2 seconds, 1-2, it's gone.
Yeah.
And there's 60 yards on 50 meters on the fly. Perfect pass. And it's just because they just repeat it. And consistency is that. So I think young kids today are all about being a 10 out of 10. Just looking for that YouTube moment, that Instagram reel, that's all they want. But that happens. You take a rugby game, goes for 80 minutes. That Instagram reel lasts 2 seconds or 3 seconds or whatever it is. There's 79.5 minutes, still to go. So focus on being a 7 out of 10 for 79 minutes, and that 10 out of 10 moment will come. Dan Carter talks about it if we're talking about rugby. Richie McCaw, all these. Johnny Wilkinson, if you've read his autobiography, he talks about it. Yeah, his goal kicking didn't just come because he obviously had a gift for it, but he realized he had a gift and just honed it and found out what worked with him. And when it didn't work, just kept practicing till it did work. And then, okay, that works. Now I kept working on that. How can I make that better now? And now it's better. Okay, how can I make it even better? And just keep working on it. And you're eternally trying to improve. And coaching is the same.
Sorry, Ben, did you want to jump on that? Go for it.
No, I mean, there's so much in that, and it's awesome, and I guess all of those guys as well. I mean, there's so many questions. One I'd love to know is the first part is if Adam, like when you've been doing your job for so long, do you instinctively, is there something you look for straight away when someone comes? And I'm guessing it's that sort of consistency and work ethic and that willingness to go through the processes that you'll know if someone's going to work in your system pretty quickly after they've arrived as a signing. You know, I can imagine that's really key for you. You probably got that down.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not the sort of final. I don't give the final answer on who we recruit. Obviously,
no.
Assistant coach, and I'm a bit further down on the totem pole. But our coach he's got a very similar mindset, and we're looking for. I mean, a good example was when we went to Super League, where we were chasing instant results. We have to win for survival with the relegation promotion system, and we went away from recruiting based on our principles and who we are, our identity as a team, to looking for players that are good players, but they do fit our system to who we are as people and as you know, our belief system at the club, and didn't work and blew up in our faces. And so we've gone back to that now and trying to recruit players that fit our system, that are, you know, leaders, that are hard workers. I mean, it's a very vague term, but I mean hard workers in that are consistent with their craft, that you know, aren't looking to take shortcuts, that are willing to learn. And I think that's the biggest one for us, is they're willing to listen and learn and improve. And you know, the coach or the player that thinks that they've worked it out, you know, they're probably close to the end of their career, because you've never worked it out. You can always be better.
Yeah, 100%.
Adzi, you know, I just want to jump in. You know, you mentioned earlier, you know, you played at Toulouse Olympic, and then you transitioned into becoming a coach. You had no experience as a coach. And I often receive this question where young coaches are asking, you know, what process can they follow if they really want to level up as a coach and, you know, upskill themselves? So you get sometimes some players like you, we see it a lot now in the professional game in France, where former players are transitioning into coaching. You know, what advice would you give to them when they make that transition? Obviously, sometimes you could be a great player, but it doesn't mean you're going to be a great coach, you know? So, you know, what should players be doing, or young coaches that are just starting out, you know, to become, I won't say that ultimate coach, but to be impactful, to make an impact on your team, even though you're lacking experience?
Yeah. Biggest one, be a pain in the ass. What I mean by that is harass people, annoy people, send them DMs on social media, email them, telephone if you have telephone numbers, and ask, just pick their brains, and just try and consistently learn. Like I was like that. There'd be people that I'd write them emails, I wouldn't answer back. I would just keep hassling until they did. I would turn up to games and then try and catch them on dressing. Hey, how you doing? I'm Adam. Really like what you do, and just show that you show. I mean, typically when I bring on an intern or hire someone, I don't even look at the CV that they bring. I mean, obviously they have to have the qualifications for insurance purposes and whatever, but what can you bring to the table, and who are you as a person? So I want someone that is going to push themselves and wants to learn. So there's no, as I said, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's no right answer. S&C especially, there's so many ways, like, you know, Westside Barbell, triphasic, can maybe 1,000 different systems that are used today. But it's picking the brains of everyone. What makes sense to you? What do you believe in, and how can you model your own system? Because at the end of the day, if you copy someone to a T, but you don't either understand it, or you don't understand why that person is doing it, or you don't believe in it, it might work short term, but long term, you're into a brick wall. The thing is, get as much information as you can. I like that, or don't like that. Take it, leave it, and then try and work out who you are, which will take time. It's not going to, come at once, but work out who you are as a coach. what your belief system is, what you think will work, and then from there, put in place some things. I mean, I've done some stupid stuff looking back on it now, which I don't do anymore. I mean, I thought at the time it was good, didn't work, whatever, it didn't work. I don't do it anymore. But at the time I believed in it. But I think that's how you become better. If you always do what you always did, you always get what you always got.
So yeah, that's too man. Really good.
You know, so basically if I was a young coach, I'm just whoever you're working under. I mean, if you're working under someone, obviously you learn off that person, but just branch out. And especially what I've found in the last 5 years where my focus has changed is the first 5-6 years, I was all S&C, learn the systems, learn the sets and reps and percentages and the whatever it is, or technology and blah, blah, blah. The last 5 years, it's just been a lot about personal development and the human side and human aspect of coaching, which I've found is really taking, not scenario, I really feel it's taken my coaching to another level. And especially in professional sports where you're typically working with, the Rolls Royces of genetics, so especially I take the example of some of these blonde Asian guys that I get, I've got guys that can bench 200 kilos, deadlift 300. If they can bench press 200, 210, what difference is that going to make? Do you know what I mean? So it doesn't matter what I give them. I could give them, I hope I don't, but I could give them a terrible program. They're still going to be super strong. And, if they're fast, they're fast. I can improve it slightly, but I'm not going to, if you're slow, I'm not going to make you super fast. If you're super strong, you're already strong. How can I make you a better athlete other than just in the gym or on the field? And I really believe that making them better people and making them autonomous can really be that sort of missing link that we don't sort of focus a lot on as coaches.
Yeah, so good. It's so interesting you say that. I think we've in rugby, and I think it's the same in the league, we've made these huge progressions and focused on analysis. We focused on S&C, and it's almost the untapped stuff, that you were talking about now, and you almost like when you start coaching, I think it certainly happened with me. I was super technical, almost too technical, and you go that way. And also you're a bit autocratic because you're trying to stamp and get some, I'm in charge of this, I've got my authority, so you're not, undermined. And so that you're trying to portray that, convey that you're confident. And then maybe it becomes a bit more like an art and it becomes more relational, or you're trying to, really, if the guys feel good and they want to come, then they'll get stuff done. And it doesn't have to be a world record day, but they'll get stuff done and they'll keep, turning up and wanting to be there, and then there'll be good people to be around. And it's funny how it works like that, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, an example would be, you can find a lot about a player, find out a lot about him or her just by asking, spending 2 minutes with them. Like everyone's, does their wellness questionnaires of a morning, and you might get some coaches, such and such, he's got a 2 out of 5 or whatever your score system is, on his mood or whatever, or he hasn't any sleep lights, he's going to tear a hamstring. But it'll take you a minute, just go up to, to Jack or Joe. Jack, I just saw your wellness score, saw your sleep. Not very good. What's up, bud? You must say, I didn't know for much, mate. Just, one of the kids was sick last night. I wake up at 3 a.m. Oh, okay, no worries. Yeah. Good, yeah, I'm sweet. It's not the end of the world.
Yeah.
They're not going to die. They're not going to tear hamstrings. You know what I mean? I think we get, and I was the same. Everyone goes through it. We're all locked up in data, what the data says. GPS is another one. Like, I might get shot by the S&C community here, but in the session, one guy, he might have hit his targets. He wants to go, I just want to do an extra. I want to do some more fitness, 5-minute block. Oh no, if you hit your targets, if he says he's fine to do it, whatever, go do it. If he feels like he can run through a brick wall because he does an extra 2 minutes of fitness, well, go do that. You know what I mean?
And I guess that's learning to listen and sort of, listen and get that feedback from the individual as well, isn't it? So I guess you've probably developed that skill as well, haven't you?
Yeah, it's not a perfect skill. Obviously, there's nothing's perfect. You just got to try and sort of work out what is relevant, what isn't, and what, there's some markers obviously that are, red flags or not, but I think there's no perfect or right answer. It's just it's just a moving object always in our industry.
Yeah. And mate, the big question is how do you stop the boys just eating loads and loads of croissants throughout the day? Like, is that like that's always the stereotypical thing you hear, and stupid stuff like that. But joking aside, do you find the cultural stuff to do with diet? Because I've got views on this, but you touched on stuff to do with people being happy earlier, and the eating stuff that G talked about. Do you find that you just guide them and they give the guidelines, but actually, how do you work that? And if they're happy, then they're going to perform. And it's like, you look aside for certain things.
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mention it because as we speak, I'm just working on the new nutrition handbook for the guys for this upcoming pre-season, because we kick off in 2 weeks. So it's mainly just about education. So I set them out, if you're 95 kilos, 100 kilos, 105 kilos, etc., if we're trying to strip some weight, if we're trying to maintain, put on weight, this is what you should be looking at, some basic guidelines and stick to them. And it's about, just educating. And there are non-negotiables. So like I would say, if you're 110 kilos and you should be playing 105 and you're carrying 25% body fat and you should be at 20%, whatever it is. And I'll say you're eating, 5 croissants before you come to training. I want to go say, well, hey, you're eating 5 croissants. That's garbage. You're not going to eat your goals. Try and eat this and then slip in a croissant every now and again. At the end of the day, they're adults. They're professionals.
Yeah.
All I can do is educate you. My goal is I've got to try and get you to buy into what I'm trying to educate you about. But at the end of the day, it's on you. You're accountable for your own person. What you put in your mouth, it's like the anti-doping. You're responsible for what you put in your body. Same thing.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm not educating you and you're doing it and then I'm just going, oh, man, that's garbage, but I'm not giving you the tools, I'm partly responsible for it.
Yeah.
Now, either I've got a nutrition background or competency in nutrition, I can help you with that. Or, look, I can't, but go see this person, they can help you.
Yeah.
That's all I can do. But at the end of the day, I'm all about working with the player, but there is a responsibility on the player to look after themselves as well. You're getting paid. Most players pretty good too. And then I'm not at home with you holding your hand. So it's, you do it with information. I give it to you, do what you want with it.
Yeah.
Adzi, it's kind of funny, man, and I think it's great what you're doing, just educating the players, because I've seen it firsthand, and often it comes down to the big boys, the props. And I said, like, I asked this guy, but what's your weight? And it's like, it's still the same. I don't understand. I'm training hard. I'm doing well. And then you look at their plates, and then it's like loads of carbs, big glass of fruit juice, having 2 to 3 glasses. Like, I don't understand. I'm having fruit juice. I'm eating fruits, and it's just crazy, like the amount of plates. Sometimes players don't realize. They think, okay, because I'm eating rice and good quality food, all those type of things. Like you mentioned, we're not nutritionists. You have way more knowledge than me. But I do believe, the education aspect is very important. Like, if you want to achieve certain goals, either you need to take the responsibility upon yourself to be educated, or go see your S&C coach. So it's a very important aspect, and well done to that. That's unbelievable. But Adzi, I want to just jump onto a question, because I know we actually, honestly, I feel we can go on for another hour or so. Yeah, really giving us some valuable information, insights. But I would like to know, is there something you can share with our listeners or our viewers watching this, when you were still a player, where there was something, I won't say bad happened, but were you in a really dark space? something that, and we've all experienced, I've experienced, if I look back now, there were certain times in my career where I was potentially depressed, overindulging in food, binge drinking, I name it. But is there something that you can share with the audience? Obviously, it's public, so we don't want to share stuff you don't want your family to hear, but where the players can learn from your experience and in terms of what you went through and how you overcame it.
Yeah. So, as we see, when we're 20, we think it's going to last forever, which it doesn't. When I hit 25 or 6 years old, so I've had chronic knee issues all my career. So, up until I'm 25, I think I'd been operated on maybe 7 times on my right knee. And then I was knocked out again when I fell. As I've fallen, obviously I've lost, I was unconscious and I've fallen on my knee and torn some ligaments in my knee, and I haven't recovered well from it. And I got told that I needed an osteotomy. So long story short, osteotomy is normally what you get when you're about 45 and you need a knee replacement, but you're too young for a knee replacement. You're not supposed to have it at 25. From that, I developed a staph infection and was pretty much told that I had to retire. Now I'm in France. My partner was pregnant at the time. Long story short, we lost that baby or whatever. But you're 25. You're on a sports visa, so I can't work other than play professional sports. And I'm just being told that I can't play professional sports anymore. We just bought a house. So I'm going, no, that can't happen because this is literally my life. My livelihood, I can't. And he said, well, that says 2007 or 8 and very new operation in France. I think I was only the third professional athlete to get that type of operation. It's obviously a bit more common now. And after staph infection, I said, look, I don't know if you can walk correctly. You probably won't be able to run, so you definitely can't play. And I'm just going, man, that can't happen. Had the staph infection. I'm in a hole. The club that I was playing for was just said, well, we're not going to offer you another contract. And I'm like, I haven't finished my studies yet. And I'm going like I am literally effed. I'm gone. What I want to do. And I was in a massive, massive hole. Put on on the scale, I didn't put on a lot of weight because I was losing a lot of muscle mass through the leg, but I was actually quite lean. I was under single digit body fat. I was quite big, and then I just blew out like a balloon. And I was a pain in the ass to my partner. I was a pain in the ass to the people around me because why me? What did I do to deserve it? You're all assholes because you don't understand what I'm going through. You should understand what I'm going through. Blah blah blah. And I had to have a shift in mindset, and that's when I ran into, probably about 2 years later, I ran into Keegan Smith, and that was a big shift in mindset for me. Found a little community that helped me get out of it, and I found some things I was passionate about outside of rugby, which helped me get back to playing rugby. I ended up playing. I was never playing at the same level to what I once was, but I was back playing, and I was back playing professionally. But I went through probably 2 years there where I wasn't a very sort of good person, and I was making the people around me probably feel like shit, and to find get out of that hole. But got myself out of it, and I'll try and. That's when I realised that there's more than life to rugby, and I think it's important to find a purpose outside of that too.
No, thanks for sharing, Adam. That's incredible. In that scenario, then there's loads of stuff to do with that. But did you, you mentioned finding people and doing other stuff. What advice would you give to somebody, is there 1 or 2 key steps that they can do if they're in a similar situation? Because I can relate to the injury. Actually, funny enough, I had MRSA as well, staph infection as well. I was out for a year and a half.
Shit. Yeah.
So I can completely relate. In always those periods when you're trying to come back from injury. That turned out to be the final straw for me, and I ended up retiring shortly afterwards. But for me, it was I guess routines as well, and finding other stuff I was interested in. I found it really hard when I couldn't train. I couldn't train, then that was what helped me mentally, because it allowed me to have that routine. Is there anything else that you could advise young guys in that scenario?
Yeah, I think the biggest one is, and which we're in a completely different, generation, which is a good thing, is the first thing is to speak to someone about it. Like this is 2000, I can't remember exactly, 2007, 8, something around that time, where it was like mental health. You're a rugby player, just get on with it. So man, shut up. No worries. And speaking about it was a sign of weakness. And I grew up, in a family where, with my dad, where we didn't speak about that kind of stuff either. Like, I was like, you're injured. I had injuries. Get over it. Happens to everyone. And now it's a lot different, and it's a good thing. But I think find someone that you have confidence in and talk to them about it, because you find that by speaking about it, that you're not alone. Number one, you're not alone. And number two, there's more to life than what you're going through. Do you know what I mean? Everyone's got, life goes through cycles. So I've evolved from I was a rugby player, now I'm a coach. In a few years it might be something else, but you just go through cycles, and life's ever evolving, and you'll eventually find purpose, and you'll change your skin, and you'll find out something else, that you like, and what drives your passion. And so definitely seek out, it might be professional help, but definitely a confidant or someone that you can really just liberate yourself to, and they'll probably give you some sound advice, or even if they don't give you advice, just you speaking about it, take the weight off your shoulders. Definitely.
Thanks for sharing that, mate. That's so good, man. That's so valuable, and I think we all can benefit from that, obviously. But for young players who get those setbacks and just been able to put one foot in front of the other and move forward in some capacity, yeah, mate, that's amazing. When you're surrounded by good people as well, mate, that's amazing. Mate, it's been awesome chatting with you, Adam. I wish we could talk a bit longer, but maybe we'll have to get if you have time, we'd love to get you on again sometime.
Oh, we really appreciate it, guys. It's been very humbling speaking to guys, and
mate,
guys such as yourselves.
No, honestly, I enjoyed it, Edsy. I made loads of notes, and this is why we always wanted to get back into podcasting, of it. It's about sharing our knowledge and experience, but also like those of our guests and the experience, and we all got a different way of communicating things. But what I think what stands out for me today is what you said, is coaching the human being. I think that's one of the biggest take backs, and which I believe today, doesn't matter whether it's in sport or in the corporate space, it's one of the bedrocks to performance. And I agree with Ben, we definitely need to get you back. And thanks for taking the time, for sharing your experience with us. Really enjoyed it. And I know you, like me, we do share stuff on social media, but we don't post every single day. But for those of you watching, listen, definitely give Edsy a follow, check him out, what he's doing, if you're looking for some inspiration. And I'm sure you can reach out to him as well if you have any questions. But thanks for joining us tonight here on the Lessons from the Game podcast. And as always, guys, please share this with your friends, subscribe, like, do whatever you need to help us grow the show. And Ben, thanks a lot. As always, good stuff, good work.
No, that's brilliant.
And I wish you guys an unbelievable day.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Right. Do it!